Let me invite Vineet Agarwal, Managing Director of Transport Corporation of India, to share his thoughts. Vineet, this is also very interesting geopolitical times that we live in. So if we look at value chain related issues, there has been a lot of dimensions of change. But I would like you to share your thoughts from your perspective on the opportunities you see both for Indians coming to Greece and Greeks coming to India.
I'll take a step back. I'll say this is really the time for India. We are at the cusp of really massive economic changes and social changes. The aspirations of our people today cannot be stopped by whims of politicians. Gone are those days. Everyone wants growth. Everybody wants development. But we should also remember this is a one-time, lifetime opportunity for India not to mess it up. We have, like many other countries, lots of problems. We have problems of inclusivity between rural and urban areas, between religion, inclusivity issues. We have problems of disparity between incomes. We have problems of employability, not enough jobs. We have problems of the formalization of the economy, as well as the financialization of the economy. But all of these problems are being addressed. And in the 25, 30 years that I've been working, I have seen the last 10, 15 years of dramatic change. So anecdotally, yesterday when I was coming from the airport to the city, I was just talking to the taxi driver. And I asked him, I'm from India, what do you think about India? Oh, it's a dangerous country. I said, why do you think it's dangerous?
Too spicy food.
So he said that it's because there are so many poor people. So I said, yes, there are poor people. What else? He said, we don't know whether we'll be able to go anywhere. I mean, is there enough infrastructure? Look at this road. I mean, it's a beautiful road from the airport to the city in Athens. I said, India is, and I didn't tell him, but I said, yes, you should come to India. He said, I need a friend. I said, you're my friend, come, no problem. But India is investing 3.5% of its GDP every year into infrastructure. It's massive. I mean, I'm in the logistics sector and I know the kind of work that is happening in this space. And infrastructure has a trickle-down effect. It has a 3x, 4x kind of multiplier effect. It's not what many countries did was just give out money to the poor or give out money. India does some of that as well. But the investment into infrastructure is going down to many, many industries. It is having a direct impact. The investment that's going into other areas, and infrastructure has, of course, the linkages to logistics. It has linkages to whatever is happening on, say, the railways. Infrastructure has importance on the port side, and as well as on the city side, the urbanization issues. We have metro projects that are coming up that are massive. So this basically creates an opportunity for any kind of company that is coming to India. Any kind. You can, today I heard somewhere that a large percentage of companies in Greece are SMEs. We need that ecosystem connect between SMEs of India and SMEs of Greece. That's where the learning will come. One area I'm not going to talk about, what has already been discussed, is tourism. I think both countries, both Greece and India, have their soft power. Everyone loves Greek food. Everyone loves Indian food also, even if it's spicy.
And you count me in.
Yeah, exactly. So the soft power when it comes to food, the soft power when it comes to people connect, the soft power when it comes to things like tourism are massive. And I think we need to leverage that to the maximum extent between the two nations. I will not get into specifically to geopolitics yet, but this is just, and other than that, of course, food processing, seafood processing, lots of areas are there where I think Greece and India can really cooperate. India is at the process of is wanting its voice to be heard. And the voice to be heard is happening. We are not in the G7. We're not part of the National Security Council, the Global Security Council, UN Security Council. And that's why India is trying very hard that we create our own axis of power. When it comes to the military side, we have the, I think the I2U2. On the economic side, various FTAs, the FTAs that are happening. On the political side, we have the Quad as well. That's both military and economic and political. So like this, some of these things are happening, and of course what the Honorable Minister mentioned about the India, Middle East, Europe corridor. Once that gets activated, the voice of India will be heard. So you cannot, as Greek businessmen, avoid and miss India.
Moving on to Vineet, since you are in the sector of transportation and infrastructure, what would your take be on the issue, keeping in mind what our previous speaker said about the need to connect, communicate, and use the technology that is available?
So specifically, if you look at the IMEC corridor, IMEC, it is going to be a channel of development for the entire range of activities that is going to happen there. It's from India, Middle East, Europe, and the connectivity is not going to be only from an infrastructure perspective, which we know is already started, with India investing into ports in Israel, in Greece, and in several other countries. But people-to-people movement, like what Preeta just mentioned, it will happen on creating industries, because there will be the ports that are going to be around will create industries. For example, India and Greece can collaborate on shipbuilding. We as a company are buying ships. Incidentally, we placed an order for 2 ships just last month to China. And it was just unavoidable, because there was no other company or country that came up and said, not even in India, that they can come up to that price expectation, or to some extent the quality as well. So those are the things that the IMEC will work on to build up capacity across this board for industry, for infrastructure, for creating people-to-people movements, and ultimately also even for cultural exchange.
Excellent, thank you. Great initial thoughts. But before we move into that, I would like to hear from you, Vineet. What is your experience on the use of, don't worry about it. What's the use of this specific technology in the Indian transport sector? I think you are one of the right people to have on this panel. And this might give us an idea on what are going to be the paradigms coming out of that for the upcoming connections between, hopefully, between Greece and India. The point of the question is the following. If you look at the map, and being in Greece, we like to point out that many words are Greek, and one of them is geography. And us being democracies at the end of our respective areas, so we have Greece at basically the end of the European Union, the very edge. And then there is a whole area of geopolitical trouble, another interesting Greek word, as it were. Then we have India as a major, huge democracy. This is the paradigm that we are going to be looking to investigate in the future by using technology. A long question, but I need to point out that from a logistics point of view, it is at least interesting, isn't it, to connect the two countries? How can we project whatever happened in India and use it to connect these 2 points of reference?
You leave all the tough questions for me, right?
Of course.
Okay, well, so I'll give examples of what's happening in logistics in India and on how data is being, data is now the 4th factor of production. Land, labor, capital, now data is the next one. So it is with India's population that we've heard many times today repeated, the geographical spread. We have 600,000 villages in the country. it is difficult for any delivery company to really deliver to your house. So you could say that, look, I live behind that temple in that street, next to the well and with the door, red door. That's my address. And it gets delivered there every single time with, I would say, a failure rate of less than 0.01%. So why is that happening and how is that happening on a regular and continuous basis? It's because of data. The e-commerce companies have all that data. Now what's happening subsequent to the next stage of development with e-commerce is something called quick commerce. And quick commerce is essentially, you will get anything about the top 2,000, 3,000 SKUs, items in your house within 8 to 10 minutes. And I have timed it many times. Within 8 to 10 minutes, in some cases 12 minutes, the product is delivered to your house. It is completely changing the e-commerce landscape in the country. It's a combination, the process is that there is a fulfillment warehouse at the back, and then in the city there are these dark stores or smaller warehouses where there are a few hundred SKUs, and finally the last mile delivery to your house. So like we do some of this in the supply chain in our businesses. And it's amazing that the amount of data on consumer behavior that has now come, because what are those 2,000 items that are demanded in which city or in which neighborhood is that plan, that is the plan for that particular dark store at the middle layer. Then it's the plan of getting to your house. And this is really happening. There is a service where you take a picture of yourself, a high definition picture, send it to that company and ask them for passport photographs. Within 10 minutes, you'll get printed passport photographs delivered to your house. I have done it. It's not hearsay. So the level of data that has gone down and technology that has permeated in all aspects of business that we just talked about, but more so even in logistics, is phenomenal. The second part of your question is how can that be used effectively? I think there are platforms now that have been created, what even in the last session Pranjal mentioned, something called ULIP, Unified Logistics Interface Platform, where all this data it's residing with us, but there is a certain amount of layer that we are connecting with the government or with different service providers. It could be a trucking service provider, it could be a payments gateway, it could be a port, it could be an airport. And this layer in the tax authorities, this is available to mine. And this is available by anonymizing data. So the Indian government has created a company that is can mine that data. And you can buy this with anonymized data. So that kind of consumer behavior is something that you can learn and implement maybe here. Because the LLMs that you're building basically means you need data. And where is that going to come from? How will your own model start learning? And hence, this is going to be available. Unfortunately, in some countries like China and etc., you don't have a choice. You have to just give that data to the government. In this case, you have a choice. So that is one way of protection. Now, I think our countries can work together in many such areas. Privacy is big. The fundamental belief is that intellectual property is protected in a European Union country like Greece, and surely it is protected in a country like India and not in some of our other countries that we talk about. We know for the fact that there is a high degree of trust and cooperation with the shared goals, shared vision that we as our countries have. So clearly there is a scope to align more and more. Now specifically there are many areas, but broadly these are some of the thoughts.
Excellent. So basically there is a wide spectrum of capabilities that is just waiting to be activated at the end of the day. And all we need to do is moving into the implementation, the design and the implementation stage.
I think also identification.
Identification.
I don't think we've identified those areas of cooperation.
Very correct.